A rapper who shall remain nameless told me one time, yeah, we was all chilling. Ye was like, yo, I'm going to shopping. When I come back, I need 10 songs. Like,
but you know, like, okay, can we also say that is not a foreign concept in hip hop though? Like,
not, but when we talk about the GOAT,
no, but like we talk about, all right, Snoop. Like, I'm not saying Snoop is the GOAT, but Snoop probably one of the most famous rappers in the world. Snoop has openly admitted that for his album, I think it was Ego Trip or Ego Trippin', that he had people write for him, and he had people write every song for him on the album. And like this is as a thing. Like, people put so much claims on ghostwriters, and you know what? To be the best, I think that you do have.
Yeah, but let's be clear for context. But for context, that was Snoop's 9th album. It came out in 2008, if I remember correctly.
For sure.
I mean, or 2009, 2008, 2009. I mean, Snoop is 107 years old.
So okay, so there's a cap when you should start handing over your shit. What about
your best shit should not be written by somebody else? If you told me somebody else did Doggy Style, I'd be like, okay, I would think it's different.
He didn't. It wasn't like he had hella bars on that. He was izzle and kizzling on the whole album.
No,
I'm not
allowing that.
No. Give me a fire setup punchline from Doggy Style. Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.
That, I mean, look, no, now the misogyny of Doggy Style, I'll give you.
Give me a bar. I want to hear a bar.
But if you go back and listen to What's My Name as an actual, so all right. First of all,
you tell me.
Snoop's gift was flow. It was that he had a laid back flow. He was always in the pocket. But
I am okay. Doggy Style, I'm not a rapper. You're not gonna get me on here doing bars or whatever.
Right, he's trying to set us up.
We talk about pen and lyrics.
But I'm saying, like, cleverness. Snoop is actually extraordinarily playful in this. And even like when I say melodious misogyny, he's in that category too, of like songs I listened to where I was like, I'm just thinking this is right. I get the back into the chick named Sadie. Used to be my homeboy's lady. 80 degrees when I said of these none of these at ease.
Come on, man.
It's just, because flip it and make it do different things. It's that
down the street.
I mean, there's a great comedian moment where someone's like adding the hook to that smoking endo. That's it. It's like one line and that's it. But it is his flow. It is just coming in 1, 2, 3 into the 4. Like, it just is. There is an intangible thing. I would agree with that. There are lines from Snoop that I find and still say randomly all the time.
Are you kidding me? Yes.
And the thing that got him where he is because it is the flow, for sure. It's how he sounds. But it's also the playfulness of it. He was a very stark contrast to like even the more like aggressive sounding, like for West Coast sound, he actually does something very different, right? Like very different. And I think he rides that in a very particular way. He's humorous in a way. Again, I know I'm listening to hip hop, so I'm always going to be encountering misogyny. Like I've conceded that as something that I engage when I'm engaging in all of pop culture.
Yeah, choice, right?
Specifically hip hop, because it's a culture that I feel invested in. Mm-hmm. And I think there are ways that I have found it musically more interesting and more dynamic. And there is a very like something in Kanye's play with it, because I think he's doing that thing of playing against it and for it at the same time. And it actually comes out in production, in skits, in music, in the 808, My Dark Twisted Fantasy, like all of that, like has a really, really, really unplayful way of engaging that same thing. So it's harder for me to listen to than the routine melodious misogyny that I got accustomed to being comes up on hip hop in the late 80s and early 90s, right? Like it's different. That doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
But I will not stand for this. Snoop was not a rapper. No. Snoop was nobody sounded like him. Nobody sounded like him.
For sure.
Snoop was the biggest rapper on the planet in 92 to 94.
I'm not
wasn't even close.
But I'm not doubting that. But I'm saying though, like, if you found out, like, if I found out that like Snoop didn't write Doggy Style, like my heart wouldn't be broken because I know that there's nobody who can replicate his flow, his sound. So like that's
the example. I give you that to you when I say, like, you know, especially earlier, Lil Kim. Lil Kim for me is somebody who you can't tell me can't out rap most people. Like, she raps, nobody raps like her. Like, I can recite Lil Kim verses like out of nowhere. I randomly do to get myself hyped on stuff, right? It does not matter to me that she is not the writer for some of my favorite bars because no one can say them like her. No one can deliver it like her. No one shows up like her. But I will say I got more curious when she starts writing more, like what her voice actually would say. Right, like what that actually does mean. I am curious in that way about her as a writer. But like,
I want to know what her voice sound like. But the shit that Biggie wrote for her, the shit that whoever.
Come on, Queen Bitch is one of my favorite songs ever. I be in the mirror rapping Queen.
There we go.
Okay?
I'll pay to see you talking about Queen Bitch. Queen Bitch.
Oh, fire! Come on, we're not gonna act like no. Who wrote it? She made it fire.
I don't care.
What's your favorite Lil Kim verse? What's your favorite Lil Kim verse? Each of y'all.
Queen Bitch.
He said, "Nigga, you not listening." What's yours?
Not listening.
You have a penchant for favorites and your questioning. I've had this on your in Books podcast and this and that I'm very bad at favorites. The one I probably is the two I recite the most. Probably It's All About the Benjamins, right? And that's not her song. So that is
with the V, huh?
That's ridiculously hard.
That's All Black Like the Omen is just a line that I say at least once a month.
Have your friend singing "This Is for My Homie."
Woman.
It's so sick. Okay, but so in addition, I'll say from her, like the song that shook me up when I first heard it, and this is off the debut album, was absolutely Big Mama Thing.
Oh man.
Like you just start the shit. I used to be scared of the dick.
Nah, though.
Where we start?
Handle it like a what?
Bitch. Have a Hunter, Jenna Jackney taking it. Like, come on. Like,
come on.
So that verse.
Part, and then definitely Quiet Storm remix. My God.
Oh my God. Quiet Storm fire.
I hate MC Light to kick it off. Like it's citational. Here
we go again.
I'm a leader. Y'all some following shit coming in this game off some modeling shit. To the top.
100%. Yeah, Lil Kim. I mean, I think for me, most of that is Biggie. And it makes me wonder. One, that's not taking anything away from Kim. Nobody can deliver that shit like Kim. I mean, Diddy is the case example, right? Diddy had the access to every rapper in the world to write his shit, and it sounds stupid every time. Sounds like trash. Every verse sounds. I mean, the best verse I think Puff has ever done is "The World Is Filled."
That was a fire verse.
I'm kind of agree. Yeah.
And it still ain't as good as Biggs or Too Short. I had a whole lot of, like come on, man.
Disclaimer: we are all not rappers.
Right, I got a bottle of sake in me. At this point, the sake's empty. Just for the record, it started full. Oh my God, that song itself and the ad libs at the end. I'm 30 years old.
You really been listening back to it.
He listened right before this.
I'm going to edit this, but
yeah.
But my favorite Mary verse,
Mary.
My favorite Kim verse.
I can love you.
Right. I mean, spoiler alert. Right. My favorite Lil Kim verse is Mary J. Blige. I Can Love You. That for me is my favorite, and I think it's my favorite because I don't think Biggie wrote it. I don't know who wrote it, but I think it's still Biggie's flow. Yeah, Biggie wrote it, but
do it matter?
No.
Okay.
I like to convince myself that's a moment where she wrote for herself, but
it don't even matter because nobody could do that like she did.
Literally nobody, right? But that for me is
he is actually, unlike a lot of songs, he is not cited on that song. Like, he's not credited. I do know that.
That's true. But it's very much his flow, his wordplay, his references.
It is, but it's also, keep in mind, like, Kim's, and the complexity of this, sure, of Kim's relationship with Big. And I want to hold that, right, in a second. But, like, as complicated as their relationship was, she's also mixed. Like, they have a relationship. Like, she could learn certain things, even if she's patterning herself in that way. Like, she is gonna sound like, because even once he's gone, there are definitely verses of hers I'm like, yo, that's so big coming through. Like, it really is her most intimate connection to hip hop, right, as a rapper. So it's not shocking that a verse would come out and it would have that flow. So his impact is like, that imprint is on Kim. That's real.
No, that's real. And that might be my favorite part about it, is that she, even by the time you get to Quiet Storm, which Big definitely didn't write, because Big had died by March of '97.
Mm-hmm.
By the time that comes out, clearly he didn't write that. But there's some pieces of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
An old competitor. Like, that's a big
step ahead. Yeah.
Like, that's a big shit.
That's big.
You know what I mean? But like, I love the way she flows in that voice. I love the wordplay, and I love the way Big wrote for her when we used to hear like the reference vocals to like Queen Bitch and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was like, yo, I don't care. It also made me wonder about Big. One day I'm going to find time to write an essay on sort of Big and sort of what it meant for Big to be writing as a Black woman, or what he thought Black women should be sounding like. Because a lot of it still sound like male fantasy, right? It was right. It was pretty much like.
That's what he
said. The nastiest, freakiest shit I think I'd want a woman to say to me, and then rap it. You know what I'm saying? But still, for Big to do that was still courageous in a certain kind of way that very few artists do. But yeah,
so I don't know. So real quick, just a question to circle back. If we put in reference to Lil Kim, I don't want to say favorite, but like. I would say we would rank Lil Kim pretty high on the all-time.
Not me, no.
Okay.
Not me. If we talk about greatest MCs, no, because of the writing thing.
Right.
See, but like I can't.
Same reason Ye ain't up there for me.
Yeah, but I can't. You like the mark of like I understand writing, but you cannot ignore the impact of the influence. We still seeing it. We see way more Lil Kims than we do Lauryn Hills, and for better or worse, you can.
Lauryn's a better rapper.
Yeah, but again, we talking about. I'm saying artists. My whole thing was an artist overall.
Okay, fair enough.
I definitely get that. I hear you. I mean, and I'm
an artist that changes things a little bit.
That's the whole point.
Kim probably moves above, or is at least parallel with Lauryn as artists.
As artists, yes, I would agree with that. I think that's fair because, again, if you're thinking about impact, when we were talking about hip hop at the end of our conversation last time, I said Missy is extraordinarily high on my list because music sounds different without Missy. Yeah. Like, it literally sounds different. R&B sounds different. Flow, Lil Wayne sounds different without Missy.
That's his favorite rapper,
right? And so I think that there's real like. You take out 757 in hip hop, and you have a whole different hip hop and R&B of the last few years. That's Neptunes, that's Kimbo, that's Missy. It sounds completely different, and I think there's a reason for that, right? That you have that talent is tapped into in that way. And so Missy, for me, always ends up in like when I do these lists, because I'm like best MCs. Like I could sit here and name people, and that works, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair if people are using that criteria. I think that's why I'm like, I don't have the visceral reaction to the Kanye Jay-Z thing because I'm like, I understand how someone could make the argument from an artist standpoint. It's not my argument, but understand why you could, because if somebody was going to tell me that Missy isn't one of the most impactful artists of the last 30 years, I would argue you down. Like, I would literally argue you down.
I think I'd be right.
Why, right? Like, easily point out why. Lil Kim is the tree that begets so many of my favorites right now. You don't get the Glorilla album. You don't get Sound Like This. You don't get Nicki. You don't get Doja. You don't get the fashion references. You don't any of that, right? And it just doesn't happen. And I mean, bringing that level of high fashion to hip hop and couture, that's him. That is him. So, and Lauren is a whole trajectory in herself. There's a whole list that comes out of that as well. So I think its impact and artist influence are very distinct things, particularly when you talk about favorites. Like Lil Kim is a favorite. I rap more Lil Kim than I do Lauryn Hill, but I would say Lauryn Hill, it ain't even a question if she's the better rapper. Like, that's not even a question for me. But if I'm at...
But Lil Kim ain't no fucking joke, though.
That's
if I'm driving down the street on the highway trying to stay awake, I'm pumping,
that first
album up. I'm pumping, crazy. You know what I mean? Whatever Lil Kim shit you want to hear, Queen, Queen B, whatever, like all of that.
Yeah. I mean, Crush on You is both a song, the remix, of course, not the one that's on that damn album with Lil C's right there.
All Lil C's. And what's they wrote that for? And Cameron wrote that. Yeah.
I mean, it's just so damn good. But the visuals of that moment, like it's really, that's a moment. And it's a moment for me as what we called elder millennials, exennials, whatever it is. Like it's really attached to my own, like, coming into self, the brashness, the Black girlness of it all. Like it just felt so grounded. And I do, like you, I'm look forward to that piece, Mark, if you write that about Biggie writing from the perspective of like a young Black woman coming of age in that moment. And I think he did capture something. There are parts of it that feel very fantasy, very cis heterosexual male projecting fantasy onto this. But it also, there's some things in there that feel very Black girl. That feel very, very Black girl. And so I'm like, what was the collaboration that we don't get to hear about in that? Like,
that's what I want to ask Kim about. I've only interviewed Lil Kim once, and it was on the red carpet at VH1 something or other. I don't remember. Right.
For him?
It was right. What'd you say?
When you was working for him, because you had made that comment before that.
Yeah. I see the callback.
It's a callback to it. It's a callback.
I definitely, but I remember wishing I had more time with Kim to ask her about that kind of stuff in a different context. Because that's my question. Because Aretha Franklin used to talk about this, and she said that and Lauren said when she connected with Aretha, she found out that they both had this shared experience of writing shit, doing shit, not getting credited for it, or having the kind of male power figures. Obviously, for Aretha, it was the men at Atlantic Records, right? Shit in Columbia. For Lauren, it was, a whole fleet of people. And there's debates about that, obviously. But at the end of the day, Black women often talk about how their genius is either co-opted or gets credited to someone else. And so I'd love to hear Kim talk about what it meant to collaborate with Biggie. Like, all right, Biggie comes in and says, X, Y, and Z. And again, with the reference vocals, it becomes a little more challenging. But as you get to maybe I Can Love You, because who knows when that verse was written? That song could have been a year old. 2 years old. Yeah. It feels like Biggie, but I'm like, what is Kim adding to that? When you get to the fashion shit,
everything.
Kim knows more about that fashion shit than Biggie did for women. So is she throwing that stuff in there, right? Because that's not a small thing.
Like, what dude? I'm thinking like Adrian Vittadini. Like, it's not Gucci, it's not Louis, it's none of the Dapper Dan, it's not any of the right designers that we're thinking that. Adrian Vittadini at that moment is a very particular designer that I am telling you, Lil Kim is telling you, this is what I wear, this is what I got on, this is what I'm like. There are things that are in conversation with that, and I hate that we haven't gotten to hear that story.
Right.
I wrote a piece years ago for the 20th anniversary of Lil Kim's debut album and Foxy Brown's debut album because they were within a week of each other. back in November of 1996.
Yeah.
And I was, one of the things they're like, you got to address that neither one of them wrote. And I was like, I was trying to figure out a way to talk about this in ways that there is a history, we have an archive. Yeah. And also, like, how do we talk about these young women in ways that don't completely evacuate any sense of agency or creativity from them?
Right. They was doing more than just reading lyric sheets.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like,
it's not fair. And there's a scrutiny that's on them that's literally not on any of these other rappers. I mean, Kanye and now Drake and other folks, you get these conversations more now about who's writing for you and who's that. But I'm like, how many of these men in hip hop can we go back and have this same conversation about?
That's what I was saying. This is ingrained in the fabric of hip hop. We're not going to act like this just started popping up where people was borrowing and not writing. Like, literally, Big Bang Hank from, the hip hop, the Hibbit, stole Grandmaster Cash's rhyme.
Right. But it's not just, but see, even the kinds of men, though, it's not just stealing rhymes. There were men who were popped up to be hip hop acts. I'll give you an example. Herbie Lovebug wrote for Salt and Pepper. Mm-hmm. So everybody says Salt and Pepper got written for, but so did Kid and Play.
This is what I'm saying. But either way, were they hot? Yes. They was fire. At one point in time.
Although Salt and Pepper was a lot hotter than Kid and Play.
For sure. I'm not disagreeing with that. But like, if you look at at the point where House Party came out and things like, they were some of the biggest artists on the planet. Yeah. Whether they pen lyrics or not.
Yeah. I mean, for me as artist, I'm good with that. As an MC, it does matter to me.
Yes. MC.
As an MC.
We all agree.
And that's where Drake falls out of my top anything.
For sure.
Because I don't know. I'm very confused. I mean, Drake writes for other people, and Drake has a gifted pen.
Yeah.
But I also don't know. But I've seen too many instances where it's been proven that he didn't write songs that we think are just crazy.